Good evening, room 207 students. Here I am for your nightly read aloud with Crenshaw, and Rossi is here. He's watching the little birds in the yard, so he might not be staying with me for the whole chapter, and we are on chapter 9. And tonight we're going to think about making those inferences. And when you make those inferences, you think about what you want the author what the author wants you to know, but doesn't tell you in the words. I'm not sure if you can see this. I think the light from the window is kind of obscuring the writing. But inferences are when you think about what the author wants you to know, but doesn't tell you in the words. Okay? And in this chapter, we're going to think about how Jackson, the main character, feels. Okay? Feelings. What are his feelings? Okay, and I'll model it for you, and then I'm going to ask you to do it, all right? So chapter 9 in Crenshaw. I love my mom and dad, and usually my sister, but lately they'd really been getting on my nerves. Robin was a little kid, so of course she was annoying. She'd say things like, "What if a dog and bird got married, Jackson?" Or sing "Wheels on the Bus" 3,000 times in a row. Or steal my skateboard and use it for a doll ambulance. The usual little sister stuff. So I think Jackson feels annoyed by his little sister. You know, she's in kindergarten, he's in 5th grade. My parents were more complicated. It's hard to explain, especially since I know this sounds like a good thing, but they were always looking on the bright side, even when things were bad. And they'd been bad a lot. They joked. They acted silly. They pretended everything was fine. Sometimes I just wanted to be treated like a grown-up. I wanted to hear the truth, even if it wasn't a happy truth. I understood things. I knew way more than they thought I did. Right? So I want you to make an inference there and think about, how is Jackson feeling? How is Jackson feeling? Okay? If you're thinking Jackson's feeling a little left out, you're probably right. That's what I think too. Jackson's feeling a little left out from his parents' conversation. Not me. Scientists can't afford to be sorry, I skipped ahead. I need to go back and read this last chapter here. This last paragraph. My parents were optimists. They looked at half a glass of water and figured it was half full, not half empty. Not me. Scientists can't afford to be optimists or pessimists. They just observe the world and see what it is. They look at a glass of water and measure 3.7 ounces of whatever, and that's the end of the discussion. Take my dad. When I was younger, he got sick, really sick. He found out he had this disease called multiple sclerosis. Mostly he had good days, but sometimes he had bad ones when it's hard to walk and he had to use a cane. When he learned he had MS, that's what they call it, shortened. Oh, I'm kicking the book, Rossi. Sorry. I keep bumping his foot. When my dad learned he had MS, my dad acted like it was no big deal, even though he had to quit his job, which was building houses. I'm going to make another inference here, and I'm going to think about a few chapters ago when they didn't have enough food in the house to eat. Does that have anything to do with his dad getting sick and losing his job? Okay, maybe the author wants me to know that. He's kind of building that up for me. Or she, actually, Catherine Applegate. It's a woman. Oops, sorry. He said he was tired of listening to hammering all day long. He said he wanted to wear fancy shoes instead of muddy ones. And then he wrote a song about it called The Muddy Shoes Blues. He said he might work from home, so he taped a sign on the bathroom door that said, "Office of Mr. Thomas Wade." My mom put a sign next to it that said, "I'd rather be fishing." And that was that. Sometimes I just want to ask my parents if my dad is going to be okay, or why we don't always have enough food in the house. There's the connection. Or why they've been arguing so much. Also, why I couldn't have been the only child. But I don't ask. Not anymore. Last fall, we were at a neighborhood potluck dinner when Aretha ate a baby's disposable diaper. She had to spend 2 nights at the vet's until she pooped it out. Poop in, poop out, my dad said when we picked her up. It's the cycle of life. The cycle of life is expensive, my mom said, staring at the bill. Looks like rent's going to be late again this month. When we got to the car, I came right out and asked if we had enough money for stuff. My dad said not to worry, that we just were financially challenged a little bit. He said sometimes it's hard to plan for everything unless you have a crystal ball and can see the future. And if I knew someone with a crystal ball, he would love to borrow it. My mom said something about winning the lottery, and my dad said if they'd won the lottery, could he please have a Ferrari? She said, how about a Jaguar? And then I could tell they wanted to change the subject. I didn't ask any more hard questions after that. Somehow I just knew my parents didn't want to give me hard answers. Hard questions and hard answers. Okay, and that's the end of chapter 9. And next week, hopefully, I will continue reading to you in the evenings while you are on spring break. And over the weekend, you can catch up on some chapters. But I do want you to make those inferences while you read. There's Rossi. Rossi, you bring very patient, even though you kicked the book about 3 or 4 times. Oh, he doesn't like the book touching his little toes. He's got sensitive toes as well as a sensitive tail. Rossi, say goodbye to the kids. Right, so you have a good evening and a good weekend, and I will read to you again sometime next week. Okay?